This is a quick video to show you how to use the Colorbyte software in combination with the Direct Color Systems UV printer to create ADA compliant braille signage. What I'm going to do is sort of walk you through the steps from importing the document to get it ready to produce on the machine. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and import our files. Vector is always the best. We'll go ahead and grab this AI set here and we'll import them in. And so there's our piece. What's going to come up is a color matching option for me, and then also a cut path. We don't have any cut paths in here, so we're going to say OK. If you're doing a color match, then you can also then choose what the library of colors that you want in there, and you can also load custom ones in the software. For our purposes, we're not going to worry about it. We're just going to go ahead and say don't assign colors, and we're going to concentrate on this triangle piece here. So I'm just going to take these others and just drop them out. And then we're going to take our triangle and we're going to put that into our workspace here. So looks like the triangles, let's see, let me look at my print here and see what it's supposed to be. It's showing it as 12 by 12. So let's double check our workspace, 12 by 12, yep. So then we'll go ahead and take this piece. And just for the purposes of what we're doing, we're going to stretch it, and that's not exactly perfect, but it'll be okay for what this purpose is now. So let's look at our part here. Now my print indicates that this the pictogram actually needs to be white, and if I look in here, I actually have a black hairline on the outside of that. So we're actually going to pull that off, and we're going to delete it because I don't want to print that black. And so there's probably one up here as well, and there is, and we're going to delete that. Now, one of the kind of tricks in this software is that the default work palette area is white. And the problem with that is that if I make this pictogram white, then I'm in trouble. I can't, it's very difficult for me to see. So one of the tricks that you can do here is that if we just grab a color off the palette, doesn't matter what it is, and I just dump it there, it will actually change the background for me. So there's that overall piece. Okay, so once I've converted this to white, we'll go ahead and drop this black line, because that could be a cut line that I would use for a router. It could be a cut line I would use for a laser to cut out my overall piece. But for the purposes of what we're going to do, I really don't care about it, because this represents my work area and my pictogram is in the right location. So there's a couple steps to do in this process. What we're going to do is we're actually going to highlight the pictogram, and we're going to convert it to what we call spot color 4, which you'll see down at the bottom says ADA. So we're going to make it that particular color. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to prime this. Now this tray I have down here is actually my primer. So you'll see that it actually will change percentage numbers as we go there. This one here is 100% prime. What that's going to do is that's going to essentially say that, hang on, let me change one thing here. What that's going to do is that's going to ensure that the 100% prime gives me at least a 32nd of an inch of height in that for that particular piece. So let me turn off a automatic primer here, and then we'll go into the and we'll just double check this ADAQ is set the same way. And it is. Okay, so let's cancel out. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to go ahead and prime it. And then now what we've done is we've right-click, left-click that 100% prime, which will prime that all the way. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to create a second page. So I'm going to make 2 pages here. And then if I see down here in the corner, I say page 1 of 2. If I go to page 2, obviously it's the same, but page 2 is where you want to lay in your color. So if you were making the pictogram blue, or you're making it green, or whatever color it is, in our case we want it to be white. So if we zoom in here, it looks like there's black lines, but actually what that is that's the color coming through for the back. So at this point, we're basically ready to print this pictogram. It's a very simple couple of steps to be able to do this. The same thing remains true if I wanted to, let's say this was a piece that also had braille on it, then I'll go back to page 1, and then I would basically use my braille only, type in min, which you'll see there, convert it to braille, which I do there, and then we'll just kind of eyeball it for now, but let's say that's where we wanted it. And then again, what I would do is I would make it as a spot color, and then prime, or instead of being the 32nd of an inch, we wanted about 24 thousandths, and that comes out at about 40% of prime. So we would just right click, left click on the prime, and then you would be set and ready to go, and you would have your pictogram and you would have your braille. At that point, what you would do is you would basically just take it and send it to the RIP itself. So what I'll do is I'll show you the RIP. So once that job is sent into the RIP, what you have is you have all these different cues. So I have color only, white with color, clear. The printer will print whatever CMYK color combination, including clear and white, that you want. And what I have down here is I'm actually going to have a set of ADA cues. So on this ADA cue, if I click on there, I'm going to have two pass raised, and then color, right? Two pass raised, then white if I was only doing a white background. Or this one you have here is two passed white with color. White with color is one you're going to use if you were doing it, let's say, on a P95. You would want to lay down that white before you put the color on top of it, so they had the opacity of the prime laid down. Same thing if you're doing clear. Clear braille has its own cue in the process. So those are sort of the different ADA cues that you would use based on whatever the project is. So the material that you use, the output that you want it to be able to do, once you start with creating the overall file set and then 2 pages to have your color on the backside, once you send that into the RIP, then basically what would happen is you would tell the machine, or you would send it to the queue most appropriate for the material and the output that you're trying to do. Either first surface, or with a primer on the white, without the primer. That's all on how you would set that up to be able to do there. So if we go back here, I'll just take you through the steps real quick, and we'll collapse our pages, which is going to give us a little bit of a mess, but we'll go ahead and take it. We'll pull that off of there. And in this case, let's pretend that we wanted to do the braille also. So once you import the piece and then you highlight it, you're going to change it to a spot color 4, which is the ADA spot color. Then you're going to use your primer to be able to set both your pictogram height, and then remember that we just use a second 40% prime for the height for the braille, which then gives you the 1/32 and 24 thousandths respectively for the size. At that point, what you're going to do is you're just going to create a second page, which is essentially a color page. And then at that point, you could pick what you want and make it white as the piece. And then let's say you wanted to do the braille in red. So then you just click on red, and now you have red braille. So the really slick thing about this process is that color, it could be anything you want, including custom colors. Very simple and easy to be able to use.